Hi, welcome to BestMyTest. Today's video is part 2 of the 3-part lesson of Master TOEFL Independent Speaking Task 1. In the previous video, we talked about 4 question styles of the TOEFL Independent Speaking Task 1. We also talked about how to structure the response for this task and went over 2 sample questions and answers. In today's video, we will specifically look at questions based on personal experiences and giving advice. We will analyze sample responses for both question styles to help you become familiar with the response structure and learn useful vocabulary and phrases used by English speakers. Before we begin, please make sure you've watched the first part of this 3-part lesson. Today's lesson may not be very helpful if you don't know the response structure taught in part 1. You can find the link to part 1 in the description below. Okay, let's continue today's lesson. We'll start by looking at a question about personal experience. Talk about an important national holiday in your home country. Describe it and explain why it's important. Let's listen to a sample response by a student from Korea.
I am from Korea, and an important national holiday we celebrate is Chuseok, which is similar to an American Thanksgiving. Chuseok is an important holiday because we pay respect to our elders and ancestors by bowing to them. Koreans start to do this at a very young age and continue for our entire life. We also give thanks for the fall harvest and have a feast of traditional Korean foods such as japchae, songpyeon, and bulgogi. Even busy families find time to come together to enjoy a meal. These are the reasons Chuseok is a very important national holiday that we celebrate in my home country, Korea.
Okay, this student did a fantastic job giving a response. She checked off all the steps from the response structure and gave extra details, which can improve your score. She talked about her nationality, Korean, an important holiday, Chuseok, gave 2 reasons for why it's important, paying respect to elders and giving thanks, and wrapped it all up in a conclusion sentence that recapped her response. Now let's listen to a different response for the same question.
An important holiday in my home country is Diwali. India is a very diverse country with many people from different religions and backgrounds, but everyone comes together as a country to celebrate the victory of good over evil together. Not only can the country unite to celebrate together, but it is also a time for families to have a reunion. My country's size is very large, yet everyone travels home for a feast and festival with their family. Diwali is an important holiday in India because it unites the countries and brings together families from all over for a celebration.
This is a great response. It gives a lot of information about Diwali in India. We should review a few vocabulary words used in this response. Diverse means composed of many different things. So in this case, a diverse country means that there is a variety of people in the country with many different beliefs and backgrounds. A synonym for unite is to come together and act as one. This means that when celebrating Diwali, nobody is left out. It's a holiday for all religions and people. Reunion is a word to use when people, who are not always together or separated from each other, have a chance to meet and spend time together. You can have school reunions, family reunions, sporting event reunions, and many more. Lastly, a feast is a large meal with many different foods. Okay, the next question is based off your experience with friendships. Look back and try to remember a situation when you had a disagreement with your friends. Take a second or 2 to think about how you would answer the next question. It's natural to have disagreements between friends. From your personal experience, describe a situation in the past where you had a disagreement with a friend. How did you handle it? Now let's hear a sample response.
A disagreement that comes to mind is when I forgot to invite my friend to my birthday dinner. My birthday was very busy and I thought I had invited her, but I forgot somehow. She was very upset by my actions. To handle this disagreement, I first called my friend to explain to her that it was totally my fault. Then I invited her to meet me for coffee because I wanted us to move past the sad part in our friendship. When we went to coffee, I paid for both of ours as a show of my sorrow. I quickly apologized one more time. You see, when you have a disagreement with your friends, I think you should not dwell on it for too long. Disagreements are unavoidable, but how you handle it moving forward is what is most important.
Okay, the next two sentences will clearly explain what the response will be about. The disagreement that started when they forgot to invite their friend to a birthday party. They then briefly describe what happened. Next, we heard how the respondent handled the disagreement. She gives 2 examples on how she handled it. And as you heard, she explains her actions. This is a great way to give examples and details on the situation, which is what the markers want to hear. Finally, she ended the response with a bit of advice and her outlook on disagreements with friends to make a great conclusion. Disagreements are unavoidable, but how you handle it moving forward is what is most important. All right, now let's review the vocabulary. The respondent said, "I think you should not dwell on it for too long." The phrase dwell on means you think, speak, or write about it a lot or for quite a long time. Okay, we have seen 2 questions related to personal experience. Now let's take a look at 2 questions related to giving advice. Here's a typical giving advice question. Your friend is forgetful and often forgets to submit assignments. What advice would you give to him? An important thing to remember when answering advice questions is not to dive right into the advice. You still need to have a great opening that can explain the question and the way you feel. Pretend that the marker has never heard the question and is only hearing the response. Let's hear the sample response so you can have a better understanding of what I'm talking about.
If my friend is forgetful and often forgets to submit assignments, I would give him 2 pieces of advice. The first piece of advice would be to get organized. I put all of my assignments and tests in a monthly planner that I organize as soon as I get my syllabus. The planner is very helpful to me because I have everything that I need to accomplish in one place. The second piece of advice I would give my friend would be to try to be proactive and get assignments finished before the due date. If he was able to complete the assignments and get them turned in before they were due, he wouldn't have to worry about waiting until last minute. So if my friend was forgetful and forgot to turn in assignments, I would recommend him to get a monthly organizer and to try to get assignments done as soon as possible.
As you can see, the opening sentence says, "If my friend is forgetful and often forgets to submit assignments, I would." This is excellent because it clearly explains what the problem is without even knowing what the question is asking. If you said "I would" or "the advice I would give would be," it doesn't clearly say what the problem is, and the listener should be able to figure out your stance within your first 2 sentences. Now, let's review some vocabulary. A monthly planner is also known as a diary, but it is a paper notebook filled with dates and important activities you need to remember. A syllabus is the paper you get at the beginning of a new class that lists all your class objectives, rules, and important dates. Lastly, a proactive person tries to control a situation to ensure nothing negative happens, rather than try to fix the problem later. All right, let's look at another giving advice question. Your friend has a close family member who is sick and you would like to do something to comfort her. Describe what you would do to comfort her family member's illness and explain why you think it's helpful. Use specific examples and details to support your opinion. Here is the sample response.
I think food and companionship are the best ways to comfort a friend with a sick family member. Normally, when someone is sick, the entire family does everything they can for that person and often forgets about taking care of themselves. This can lead to other members of the family falling ill. Giving the family healthy, delicious meals will be one less thing that they have to worry about in a stressful time. In addition to this, lots of times when people are going through disasters, they just need a friendly shoulder to cry on. Simply being there can go a long way to make someone feel comforted and help them not feel isolated. So when my friend has a family member who is sick, I would make them food and be a close companion to help them feel better.
All right, let's analyze this response. This opening restated the question and briefly added their answer to the question. This is a good way to show what the question will be about. The respondent then goes through the rest of the question and explains it in further detail and gives specific examples. The conclusion is simply the introduction reworded, which is a good tactic when you need to have a quick conclusion to wrap up the response. Now let's take a look at a few words you may not be familiar with. Companionship is the feeling of friendship or fellowship. If you have a companion, such as a friend, spouse, or pet, you will feel companionship. The respondent mentions being there for their family member. This means to physically and mentally be present in their lives. Sometimes when people are sad, they just need someone to sit with. That's being there for someone. You normally use this phrase when someone is going through a hard time, such as a breakup, death, or illness. When speaking to someone in a hard place in life, you can tell them, "I'm here for you." Isolated is for a person to remain alone or separated from others. For example, she felt isolated after the incident because no one could relate to her. Sometimes people can feel isolated even when they're surrounded by others. Okay, there you have it. 5 examples of independent speaking questions related to personal experiences and giving advice with responses and explanations. Do you feel more prepared? Remember, practice makes perfect. Be sure to go to our website at www.bestmytest.com to practice more Speaking Task 1 questions and improve your speaking by recording your own answer with our built-in recorder and listening to sample responses by native speakers. In the next video, we will look at questions based on making a choice out of 3 options and stating your opinion. This question type is becoming quite popular with TOEFL, so don't miss it. All right, this is Christy from BestMyTest. Thank you for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.